Welcome to Healing Through Your Story. I am your hostess, Leslie Karen Hammond, and I am so grateful that you're going to be joining me today because this topic, this one's a humdinger. So, how can you accept something you don't understand? And it never fails that upon writing whatever the blog is for the week, there tends to be a personal teaching, which just gotta love that for all of you out there who are, carrying the light, or, light workers, energy workers, health coaches, yogis, you know the drill. You completely understand how when there's something that that you're trying to teach people, that the universe ever so lovingly, tongue-in-cheek, will present you with an opportunity so that you can have a deeper understanding of whatever that teaching is. And so it's always a humorous thing. Okay, that's a lie. It's not always humorous, but I'm getting much better at finding the humor in it. So, this week's topic, how to accept something that you don't understand. So one thing that's really important when it comes to this very intense topic is understanding how you show up to a conversation, or how you show up when there needs to be a conversation and there's still like a lot of apprehension around the topic, and ooh, not quite ready to go there, because every experience that you've had through the course of your life has molded you into the person that you are today. And for those of you who are actively in service to others, that's probably why you are now in service, because of something that you went through, that you, at some point along the line, you had said, you know what, enough is enough, and I can no longer stand on the sidelines and watch people suffer. I need to do something about it. So for those of you who are in service, I know that you get it. You're probably like me, you probably live this. And there's really no escaping. Once the commitment was made to show up and do the work, then it seems like there's always more work to do, and always more work to do. So as I was pondering this subject, thinking, well, how many things are there that we accept without understanding? Just like blanket kind of acceptance. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, some people accept love without understanding it. Could you really define that physiological phenomenon in the body and describe love? Perhaps some can, but there's a lot going on. It's difficult to put words to. But love might be one of the things that someone would accept without understanding, unless there are some worthiness issues going on, under the surface, then in which case somebody completely wouldn't get why they're fantastic, and why someone would love them, and how someone would want to give them so much attention. So let's let's consider something else that a person may or may not accept without understanding. Self. Do you accept yourself without fully understanding who you are? Or where are you in that process of accepting who you are? It's been a long journey for sure, at least as far as this sister goes, been a long journey. And there are still lots of things about myself that I don't understand, things that were completely put into the realm of unconscious stuff from really, really young. I think that everyone has that, but I have come to I've come to accept this is what you see is what you get. This is who I am, and any work that I do to make improvements, just like you, most of the time it's a choice, and most of the time it's a deliberate effort to constantly evolve and to constantly occupy a higher vibration for not only the sake of friends and community, but also family, to raise the vibration so that humanity ultimately will be impacted. And so the question becomes, if you don't understand something and it's important that you accept it or that you come closer to realizing what's going on, how do you do that? Because if you have a family, if you are in a civic organization, if you have a business, or if you are gainfully employed, any one of those scenarios, you're going to come up eventually against something that you don't get what's happening, and part of you is going to go into resistance mode and not want to be accepting of it because you don't understand what's going on. I had a situation very similar to that last week with my husband, where I wasn't communicating properly, and he took something in a way that I did not intend it, and I didn't understand what was behind that. And finally, we got to the bottom of it. But so here's really the most important thing to remember when it comes to accepting something that you don't understand. Okay, you ready for this? Ask questions. Ask so that you can find out what's going on. Ask so that you can gain a deeper understanding of where the other person is or what the situation is. And a lot of times when it comes to our own internal work, it's not always so much fun to be asking all those questions. There's a lot of times I think there's a perception of this proverbial can of worms, like, ooh, don't want to open that can of worms, just don't want to go there. Well, here's the thing. For every time that don't want to go there pops up, and then, it's easier to lift the corner of the rug and then sweep something under. Well, for every time that happens, that speed bump in the rug gets bigger, gets bigger, gets bigger, and ultimately it'll cause an accident. You'll trip up on it eventually. And just in case this hasn't been your experience and you haven't noticed it, now maybe you will, is that every time you decide to just let something go and not put the attention into understanding it better, dealing with it, forgiving, etc., every time that doesn't happen and it's just, okay, you figure, I'm going to let that go for now. Well, it's going to come back again at some point in the future. And then the exercise repeats itself. And once again, is the invitation to take a look at, what can be done here to better understand? Well, so the thing is about asking questions is to do so in a gentle way, to try and find out more information. Oh, my nose itches, excuse me. Ooh. To find more information and do so in a tone that isn't accusatory. Because a lot of times, and this happens more than I really care to admit, but if you're tired, or if you're running late, you're harried, and somebody tries to throw something in there at the last minute, or ask you a question that has a complicated answer as you're walking out the door. Don't you love that one? That it's very easy to just to kind of snap the answer, or not give a full answer, or dismiss the question completely, and that can create some waves and some bad feelings when that happens. So it's like, call out the elephant in the room and say, hey, I realize this is important to you, but now's not a good time. Can we talk about it later? And then if it's possible, like after dinner or right before we go to bed or at some point, but to acknowledge what's happening and then make a commitment to having the conversation so the person who was reaching out to you still feels valued. Now, before I forget, every week there is a gift that complements what the topic is for the week. And so I invite you to get the complimentary download that goes along with this particular module. And it's called, let me just look to make sure I got it right. It's called How to Ask the Right Questions to Diffuse a Difficult Situation. So if you go to LeslieKarenHammond.com/18 download, then you will get some great questions to ask. So the next time that there's some tension that's going on and you'd rather get to the bottom of it and make some progress, then these are the kinds of things that you can ask. And it helps this, there's some advice there about the tone on how to ask the questions as well, because everybody's busy. Everybody's got too much on their plate. So many people are just on that cusp of overwhelm, and it seems like that's the norm, and that really doesn't need to be the norm. And if there's anything that's going on in the home, that of all places is really where your sanctuary is and where you deserve to be feeling at peace and whole and nurtured. So that's not a place for there to be tension and for there to be disruption. That's the place where you really want to unwind, feel loved, and to be able to relax. So how to accept something that you don't understand? It's about asking questions with compassion. And there are some things out there that many people accept that they don't fully understand. Take source or spirit or God, for example. As a human being, our consciousness gives us the ability to understand to some degree those concepts and to articulate to some degree what our experience has been when we've connected. But do we have, as mortals, do we have a complex understanding of those concepts? Don't think so. But do we accept what the concept represents? Many do. Do we take comfort in knowing that there is something much bigger out there than us that we don't fully understand? Many people do. Now, even in those cases, when it comes to something so much larger than life, talking about God or spirit or source, you can always ask questions. They're up there listening. I firmly believe it. And so the thing is, when you're asking questions, and this will be applicable when you're trying to understand something, is the way that you listen. So instead of, you're going to listen with your ears, but I invite you to listen with your heart. Listen with your heart. And take the head and the thought process as much out of the equation as possible, because here's what will happen if you are trying to understand something and you're asking someone questions and there's a part of you that is feeling annoyed or not completely present. Then the mind may be wandering to what you have to make for dinner. Oh my goodness, did I take the clothes out of the washing machine and put them in the dryer? Funny how I just said that. I forgot to do that. Or did the dog get taken out, or is the kid's homework done? There's so many things. So when the mind gets engaged, then it's so easy to go off on a tangent here and on a tangent there. When you listen with the heart, then this experience of communicating can go to such a deep level. It can become a visceral experience. It can become a human experience. You'll find that you develop a much stronger sense of compassion. You'll be much more likely to forgive something that at the time just didn't seem forgivable. It will truly give you an insight into another person's struggle, another person's pain or fear. Because a person who tends to react instead of act, it's defense mode. And I think everyone at some point has come across a bully in the office or in a civic group or someplace where there's been a person who is loud or obnoxious, or they're trying to control a situation. And most of the time that happens because people don't want to be seen themselves. It's a lot easier, to hide behind that gruff exterior and to have people be afraid of you than to open up and to be seen and to be felt and to be heard. So again, the best way to accept something that you don't understand is to open your heart and to realize that everyone has their stuff. Absolutely everyone. There's a history that, regardless of how well you know someone, that goes back a long way. And regardless of what your history is with someone else, what would happen if you gave them the benefit of the doubt initially, and then began to ask questions in a non-judgmental, open-hearted way, and then listened? And when I say listen, I'm talking about like active listening with the heart, not listening and formulating your response to their comments, because that will create an urgency to interrupt out of fear for forgetting what it was that you wanted to say. But the most important thing is, as Stephen Covey refers to it, really listening is the equivalent of giving someone psychological air. So when you think about it, what if someone didn't understand you completely? And think of the difference, or imagine the difference between you feeling accepted because, or you felt valued because they took the time to ask questions and better understood where you were. Can you imagine how wonderful that feels, to know that someone cares enough to ask? Think about it. Having someone care enough to ask you questions to try and understand more. Who doesn't want that? And the questions, they aren't the yes-no kind, because if you ask one of those, then you'll get your yes or no, and then that's where the conversation is going to end. So ask an open-ended question. How about this? Or, I'm curious to know more about this. Or, help me understand. And when you can help a person feel safe and not let them feel like they're being judged, that'll make all the difference in the world. So, how to accept something that you don't understand? Ask questions. Listen with the heart. Be open. Give someone the space to just be who they are and speak what they need to, and come from a place of non-judgment. And for the gift that complements this episode this week, it is, if you go to LeslieKarenHammond.com/18download, and let me just look to make sure I get the title correct. The gift this week is how to ask the right questions to diffuse a difficult situation. So there are some great questions there that will be applicable in in any situation that you could be in. These questions will help you gain more information so that if you need to make a decision, then you can do so. If you need to do further research, it will open the door for you to do that. Now, I'm so grateful that you caught us live or you're catching us on the replay. And if you like to read because you don't really have time to do videos, then check out the website, LeslieKarenHammond.com/blog, and you can read all the blogs there. You'll see everything posted, and then you'll catch the rest of the videos there. And I also want to invite you to check out the Divine by Design Facebook group. So we got some beautiful posts, all very spiritual in nature, that you can find there for inspiration. And for those of you who are in the tri-state, like Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and hey, maybe in New York, we're open to that. There is an event coming up in New London on Saturday, July 22nd, which is an energetic tie cutting intensive. This is work that I've only done in part before with clients, and this will give you such an extraordinary sense of freedom from someone who is literally sucking the life energy right out of you. So this is about cutting energetic ties for freedom. It's actually an energy independence day because there's so much good that you need to bring to the world that you don't have time for someone to be undermining you energetically and just sucking the life out of you. So if you want to know more, please make a comment below the video and I'll make sure I put that info out there so you can check it out. Let me just make sure I don't have anything else. Please feel free to share these videos if they have been of value to you or if you know of anyone else who you think might benefit. Don't forget to like the page and have an absolutely fabulous week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Mwah! Lots of love and light. Bye for now.